What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It certainly has been a while. I went back to work the 13th of January, and my day job takes up, it monopolizes pretty much my entire life. So because of that, video and content making, stuff like that has definitely taken a back seat. But I did have some time recently, so I wanted to put something out there for you guys, and I really wanted to try to build those resin coasters. So they have like the wood on one side, wood on the other, and then like that resin, whatever the hell it is, put in the middle of it. I've never poured or worked with resin a day in my life, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I didn't want to invest a whole lot of money into it, so I got one of these kind of one and done kits on Amazon. It was like 30 bucks, I think, if that, just to try it out. It's a deep pour, because it's going to have to be like 3/4 of an inch deep of resin. So I got a deep pour resin kit, and we're just going to try it out. You'll see two other products up here that they'll be used throughout the video. This little pin nailer, it's actually one of the only nail guns I don't have. Well, I have one now, but up until I got this, I didn't have a pin nailer. But I'm part of that inside track club shit at Harbor Freight, and so this thing was like $30, and I got it for 19 bucks. So I figured for 19 bucks I would give it a try. It seems okay. I don't really know. I don't use a pin nailer all that often, so I'm sure for my minimal use it'll be more than satisfactory. So this thing looks pretty cool. I mean, it's just a tiny little gun. Looks like it has settings on the side here for 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. It looks like it came with, I have no idea what that is. It looks like a new piston. It's kind of cool. And then some Allen keys of various sizes, which the whole thing's held together with Allen keys, so that would make sense. It's a pin nailer. I really don't know what else to say about it. And then we have this Warrior fucking heat gun. I don't have a heat gun. I've never had a heat gun. But I knew that one of the few things I know about resin is you need some type of heat. I know some people use a torch over top of it to pop air bubbles. But this thing can get up to 1,000 degrees. So that's more than substantial. And I think this will be just fine. This was $9.99 at Harbor Freight for their little parking lot sale. I'm not a fan of Warrior tools of any kind. I think they make a pretty subpar product. But for a resin project, and for $10, I thought it was worth picking it up. It's an odd looking thing. I don't particularly care for, it looks like a space gun, and it feels like a cheap piece of shit, which it is. So that would probably be why it feels that way. So this little kit comes with, looks like squeegees, cool, a silicone spatula. These are little plastic gloves. I'm not gonna, I have other nitrile gloves that I'm going to use, but that's cool that they thought enough to put that in there. Measuring cups, and it looks like they're packaged two per like little set, so you can do, you know, you have a couple of times of using these kits. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say here, but you can do, you know, 5 different resin mixtures with the cups that they give you, so that's cool. Then we have pipettes. I don't know what you would use pipettes for with resin stuff, but we'll find out. I'll definitely read through the instructions. So these are the pigments. Like, yeah, came with a shitload of them. I want to do like the blue, but in the future, I guess it's cool that I have a ton of different colors to choose from. This is like a silicone popsicle stick, it looks like. Don't know what you do with that either, but this is an apron. I'll probably put it on. I mean, why not? And these are, I don't know. They're either trash bags maybe, like to put all this shit in. I don't know. And then we have part A of the mixture and part B. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let me put the mold together and then I'll catch back up with you after that. All right, so a couple things are setting up on the mold, but that's all set now. What we're gonna do going forward here is, this is the piece that I'm going to use for the coasters themselves. So you can see that I've bisected the overall width of it right down the middle, but I'm not just gonna make a straight cut. I think to give it a more natural sort of live edge look, I'm gonna use the jigsaw and just kind of purposefully create a lot of imperfections, trying to stick within the margin here, but I do want to kind of skate around this line and just make this look a little bit more unnatural of a cut. So that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll move on to the next step. I'll show you guys the mold itself, what I did to the mold to make it a mold, and we'll set this up, and then we'll get going on mixing up the epoxy and everything that comes along with that. So it's a very unnatural thing to do, force the jigsaw around like that. Please don't judge me. All right, I mean, yeah, that's fine, right? Is it? I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it. Fuck it, I don't care. Okay, so here is the mold. It's a big rectangle, right? I wrapped each individual piece in some Tyvek tape. I layered the whole bottom in Tyvek sheathing tape as well. And then I sealed any joints where the wood meets with 100% silicone. I just used this Supreme silicone, you know, it's 100% silicone. And that just ensures that, you know, none of the resin's gonna leak out of this mold and all over the place. So yeah, so they will fit in like so. This piece will sit, excuse me momentarily. All right, and now the pieces just fit like so. One piece there, the corresponding, I knew I was gonna make that mistake. I wanted to put them the other, here we go. Like that, and then this piece goes here, and that's it. Now the other thing that I'm gonna assume that the stuff is pretty thin once it's mixed up, and so because of that, I should give some consideration to like leveling this thing, which is why I put these these pieces on the end so I can raise and lower the mold, and then it also gives me space underneath the clamp to hold these pieces down. All right, so the way that I'm gonna clamp these down is I just cut these little blocks to fit in here, and then just put some Tyvek on the underside to go right on top of each piece, but the Tyvek's there because I'm sure resin is gonna get on top of them. I don't want these to become a part of this, so Tyvek just sort of prevents that from happening. I might need a larger clamp than these little mini ones I have, but dirty fuck! Dang it! Kidding me? Alright. Guess we'll use these bad boys. Oh god! Everything's falling apart, guys. That's got a nasty bow in it. What's your problem now, man? Alright. That'll work, I think. Alright, anyways, enough dicking around with that. Let's get this out of the way, and I'll set up all the resin shit, and then we'll come back. Stop mixing that up. Alright, man. Got our apron on, our gloves. So, I mean, shit. This seems pretty straightforward. My concern is that I can only mix 8 ounces at a time, and I think I'm gonna need like, shit, I don't know, a lot more than that to fill that void. So I'm gonna do 2 mixtures at once. I'm probably gonna need to do a third and a fourth, but basically what they're telling me to do is just equal parts, right? So because the cup only holds 8 ounces, I'm gonna put 4 ounces of epoxy in one, and then the resin, 4 ounces of the resin in one, 4 ounces of the hardener in another, and then I can just pour one, I forget what it says. It wants the resin to follow the hardener, so well, yeah, this is part A. I don't know if this shit stinks. I do have a mask, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Anyways. Yeah, these weren't trash bags, by the way. They were like little drop cloths, so that was pretty cool. So, we will do 4 ounces of this shit. Alright. Pretty good. 4 ounces of the hardener. So, the resin's on my left, the hardener is on my right. I don't think it really matters. So, just to be clear, the hardener in one, followed by the resin. And then I mix them nice and easy. Now we'll use our cool spatula to gently mix it slowly for 3 to 5 minutes, it says. This is fucking brutal. Oh god. Alright. Mixed up 2 different colors. I was hoping to get more of like an ocean blue, but with the, I don't really like the pigment powder. I think that the actual colored drops would probably be a much better option. However, we are just gonna go ahead and move forward. I don't know what this popsicle stick is for. I would assume it's to move shit around in here. So, that's what we're gonna do, guys. Here we go. Now I want to make sure I'm not spilling it all over the wood itself, so I want to try to keep it as clean as possible. However, that's you mother. However, that's not always the easiest thing to do. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like the color. I think it's not, you know, when you do something and like in your head you picture how it's gonna look, and then you start to like see it come to fruition in front of you, and it's just not at all what you had pictured. That's exactly what's happening right now. The color is not what I wanted, but that's okay, because if I can do this successfully, then I will, you know, put some more effort into making another set of these coasters, and I'll probably try the dye rather than the powder for color. But yeah, this is pretty much, this is almost filled up. This is kind of cool. All right, now I got to plug in that heat gun. I guess. I don't know. I just see people put heat over it. So I'm assuming it's for the air bubbles. Maybe it thins out the epoxy and lets the air bubbles rise up, and then they get to the surface and the heat's right there, so they pop. That's what makes sense to me. So that's why we bought that space gun. So I'm gonna plug in the space gun, and we'll do that. Ta-da! Dear God, she's ugly. All right, we're gonna hit it with the space gun. I'm gonna start off on the low heat first, and I'm gonna be pretty far away. I can't like adjust the fan speed, so I don't want to blow the resin all over the joint. So I'm gonna start pretty high above the piece, and then kind of work my way as close as I kind of need to get to it. But if I just put it right up next to it and turn this on, it's just gonna splash the resin all over the place, and that's the last shit I need. So here we go. Although it's not very powerful. Yeah, I don't want to speak too soon. I don't know, man. I don't really see. Oh shit! Is that what all that is? Fucking! Oh my God! Whoa! There's some like metallic flake in the pigment, but I also see a lot of air bubbles on the surface. Well, this is where we're at, and this is where we'll leave it until it all sets up. We'll check back on this, I don't know, tomorrow, maybe the day after. I want to give it plenty of time to cure before I knock this mold off of it, so yeah. Catch up with you once it's cured. Alright guys, so let's pick this back up. Our first attempt at our resin pour, we left off where I poured the epoxy into the void between these two pieces, and it came out like absolute shit. I was not prepared with the right equipment to manage what was inevitably going to happen to this epoxy as it began to cure. What began to happen was these really, really wild, not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but there are air bubbles just that had developed everywhere. And you'll notice that they're all around pretty much where the epoxy makes contact with the wood. Come to find out, what I was supposed to do was seal the edge of the wood that the epoxy was going to make contact with. Otherwise, it's just pulling air out of the fibers of the wood and obviously transmitting it into the epoxy and letting it rise up. The heat gun, I don't advise using it. It did not work at all as I had hoped it would. So this entire piece is just, it was a lost cause, unfortunately. It was a lot of epoxy to waste out of the limited amount that I had, but it was definitely a learning process, for sure. So this was, there was no point. I tried to sand it down. I was hoping it would get rid of some of this, but in actuality, it just made it a lot worse. So this is a complete lost cause, as you can see. There was an excess of resin. This piece did not fit tightly into the mold as it should have. Just a lot of things that, looking back, obviously in hindsight, I would have liked to have done differently, but that's okay. So what I did off camera was because I have a terrible habit of doing shit and not putting it on film. What I did was I sort of reframed how I was going to do this. I went and I got one of these Bernzomatic torches to have, which is really the preferred tool to have for taking care of those air bubbles when they do start to rise to the surface. So I went and got one of those. That was cheap enough to get. And I did another pour on a much smaller piece, and I made a set of coasters in a different way. So there's no sort of river running through it. It is just one side is resin, epoxy, the other side is the wood. So that's what you're looking at here. Now this is much better. I'm really happy with the way that these came out. I decided to leave the wood just natural, and then I went over it with a clear coat. I thought that it gave it more of like a beachy kind of oceanside vibe if I just left this a natural color and didn't stain it. But these came out great. And one of the things I did was I made sure that the wooden piece was secure inside the mold. There were no voids anywhere up against the mold around the wood. I clamped it down obviously as well, just to make sure it didn't start to rise up. And then I sealed the edge of the wood the epoxy was going to make contact with, just with a clear coat. I just hit it with clear coat out of a spray can, and no air bubbles developed whatsoever. Any that did start to come up, I hit it real quick with the torch, and it got rid of them like that. So I made a set of 4 for the house, and I'm really happy with the way that these came out. So because I have sort of an idea of how to do this now, I thought I would do another pour, showing you guys what worked for me as far as making a set of coasters goes. Now, I have to say, this epoxy stuff is awesome. I really, really like it. I think it's beautiful. You can really do a lot of original, sort of creative stuff with that material. I really like it. I've never worked with it before, but I don't know why I waited so long. I guess I was a little I guess I was a little intimidated by it, because there is a lot of things that can go wrong, as you saw with this abomination. So that is gonna, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with it, but that can't be used for anything. So now I'm gonna take you guys over to the mold, and I'll show you how I secure that piece into the mold, and then we'll come back over to the table. We'll mix up a nice color in the epoxy, we'll pour it, and then we'll pick back up once that pour has cured. Okay, so as was the case last time, and will be the case again, once I got these, so these 2 pieces are the ones that I knock out, right? These don't move. I've seen some people that they take the entire mold apart. I didn't do that, and I haven't had any issues yet. So these end pieces are the ones that I actually whack out with a rubber mallet, and then I very carefully come at the piece from either end, pop it up out of the mold, and so far it's worked really well. So with that, I can adjust these for different length pieces, and then I have 4.5 inches here of space that I can work with. So I set these to 20 inches from inside to inside. I have a piece that's 20 inches here, and I went over this with clear coat, sealed that end in so I don't have to worry about any of the air escaping through those wood fibers. So we set that in, and as you can see, it's nice and snug in this piece. There we go. So once again, guys, I just make sure that my piece sets securely in the mold, right? So that no resin's going to get on the sides and work its way back behind it. I make sure I have a nice bead of silicone, that way nothing starts leaking outside of the mold. And that's about it. I make sure that this thing is clamped down very well, number one, so that if there is any warping or anything in the wood, it's secured nicely down to this flat surface of the mold. And also so that it doesn't rise up once the resin gets poured in. All right, now we're back at the table, so we'll mix up the epoxy now. So at least with this kit anyways, the hardener goes in first. I only have the ability to mix 8 ounces at a time. Judging by that void that I have to fill, it's going to be more than that. Now, I was going to do another like greenish color, but my wife really liked these coasters and thought they were really cool, so I think I'm going to make her a set. And her favorite color is purple. And I do have purple pigment powder. That's a mouthful. Purple pigment powder. Anyway, it says it's violet, but it's really the only, it's really the only like purple that I actually have. So we'll do just a little bit at a time. The stuff can get a little overwhelming if you're not sparing with it. It can really become a whole lot to manage. And then once I get this mixed, I'll add some white in there as well, just to create sort of like a waving effect, because this has turquoise and white in it. So I think the white adds something nice to it. So Yeah, you mix it slow and steady. It says 3 to 5 minutes, so. The one thing I'm finding already, in just a couple times that I've used this stuff, is that you really can't rush it or skip steps with it. If the manufacturer tells you to do something with the resin, then you do it, you know. With a lot of stuff in life, you can put your own spin on it. I'm sure people do it with resin, but just from my very, very, very limited experience, it seems that your best bet is to just do as you're told when mixing this stuff up. Don't try to rush it. Don't get carried away with it. You know, there is an hour working time, so that does give me some time to, it's not a whole lot of time, but it does give me some time to make sure that I have the color that I want. And everything. The only thing I've noticed, I don't really particularly care for the pigment powder. I don't like it. I think the drops, they're bottles, they kind of look like food coloring that people use in epoxy. I think that's probably a lot more effective than this pigment powder. This pigment powder is really a bitch to mix. All right, the purple's mixed in pretty good, so now we will add some white to it. Another thing I don't Another thing I don't like about this stuff is it's got like this metallic flake in it, which I really don't care for, but you know, it's like glitter almost. It's really actually, it's nasty shit. It's like glitter. It gets all over everything. Actually a pretty nice color. All right, let's pour in this first cup. We're definitely gonna have to do another mix, but that's okay. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Should probably pour this in a way so you guys can see it, huh? Nice and easy. Alright, so I actually did throw a mask on, but it has nothing to do with the epoxy itself. I don't know if you can see my hand, it's glittering right now. That shit's all in the air around the shed. I kind of saw it in the ring light, just floating in the atmosphere, so I decided that that's probably not a thing I want to take part in breathing in, so I went and threw the mask on. Yeah, so we've got a much deeper purple this time going on. And we'll pour that in now. Move that around a bit. And it's looking like I'm gonna need not much more. Definitely a little bit more. I'll make up like 4 ounces and we'll see where that gets us. Actually, that was almost perfect. Perfect amount. About 3.5 ounces it took to fill that. So, I mean, that is a really, really, really cool colorscape that's going on. I'm almost tempted not to fuck with it too much. I can see a lot of air bubbles rising up to the surface. So, what I'm told to do is to light this torch and as gently as I can get rid of them. Now I don't care if I burn the wood a little bit because because I'm going to be sanding the shit out of this thing, so I really don't care. But there's a lot of little micro bubbles that are coming up on the surface. I'm sure there's a better way in the future I'd like to learn how to get rid of that. But for now, babysitting the pour is really all I can do. And I can see some bubbles in there that will be making their way up to the surface at some point. Like I said, you really got to kind of babysit this thing, because the working time is, like I said, it's about an hour. So if you step away from this thing and come back in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you see air bubbles on the surface and you try to burn them off, it's not going to happen. You really got to watch this thing and just make sure that you are identifying and removing them as they come up. Yeah, this looks like a galaxy in there. It's actually really cool. So anyways, I'm not going to bore you guys with the bullshit, but I'm just going to continue to babysit this pour. All right, it's had a couple days to cure. I popped it out of the mold, and it's pretty good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through the table saw. I'm going to take off a 1/4 inch, probably 3/8 on this side, and just a 1/4 inch on this side, if that, just because I want to clean up this rough edge, and I also I want to shave this down a little bit. I want these to be 4 inches, 4 inches square, you know, when it's all said and done. So yeah, but I have to say, I like how it came out. It's a nice color. So we're gonna shave that down on the table saw, and then we'll get to sanding it and everything. I'm gonna sand it as one solid piece, and then once the majority of the sanding is done, then I will cut them into their individual pieces. All right, so to make sure that I get a perfectly straight edge, I'm gonna run this piece through with a straight edge along the fence. Now, just in case there's any confusion about this, we don't want to run the piece along the straight edge. I mean, at that point, you might as well just run it along the fence, right? You want to run this as one whole piece through. So, let's do that. All right, so now I have the piece all cleaned up, all these rough edges sawn off, and now we can get to sanding. Now I'm not gonna, as always guys, I'm not gonna bore you with the whole sanding bit. I'm gonna go through 150, 220, 320, then we'll see where we're at. I don't have anything higher than 320 for a powered sander, so if we're gonna go a little bit higher than that, I'm gonna have to do it by hand, but we'll see how it looks after 320, and I'll catch up with you guys at that point. Well, this is the final installation of our video here. These are the most recent ones that we made together, sort of. As always, I omitted the sanding part. If you're curious, really what I did was there was actually some deflection in the epoxy itself. So you saw it as one whole piece, right? Remember that it was it's about 4.5 by 28 or so. And I trimmed that down to the size that to a workable size. I cut off any of the bad edges and stuff like that. And then I flipped a belt sander upside down, clamped it down so it couldn't move, and then I flattened everything out with 80 grit paper on the belt as one whole piece. So I laid that on top of the belt sander and just moved it around until all the deflections were gone, till it was one smooth, level, flat piece. Now, if you have a planer, you can certainly run this through the planer and keep shaving it down until everything is just perfect. I don't have a planer. I really can't afford a planer right now. So the belt sander, it takes a little while longer, and you can really, you can take off more than you anticipated with a belt sander, and you can really get yourself into some trouble. But if you apply gentle pressure and pay attention to what you're doing and take your time with it, you can achieve a pretty desirable result by doing that. So once that was done, then I went back over it with a 150 on the random orbital, then a 220, and then a 320, and that gave us the finish that you're looking at here. And then I hit it with a flat spray-on clear coat. So this has a flat clear coat, and this has a gloss. In hindsight, I wish I hit these with a flat clear coat as well. These, you really don't get a lot of that glimmering, which I like better, and I think my wife will like better as well. Yeah, and then I just cross-cut them through the table saw as well. I didn't even use the miter saw for it, just cross-cut them to 4 inches, so they're 4x4. They're perfect square. These, on the other hand, are 4x3. Once again, this was my first real attempt at making something that I was happy with. If we look at our first attempt, this is just horrendous, really. It's just not usable, right? Really, really bad. This I'm a lot happier with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack these up, tie them with a nice piece of twine, and then these will be a gift for my wife. She can do with these what she desires. Well, that's it. That's all I got for you. With regards to epoxy resin, I don't really know shit about it, but I think it came out pretty cool. That's been my experience. I'm glad that I was able to document it at least a little bit and show you guys how I did it. You know, so like I said in the beginning, I was always super intimidated by this stuff because it's so such a foreign material to make something out of, right? Like I've never worked with epoxy resin before, but it's really, really cool. It's beautiful. You can do so much with this stuff, so I am looking forward to many more projects in the future with it. Now, for our next video, I'm going to show you guys how to shipwreck copper. Now, you may be wondering, what is shipwrecking copper? Well, you're forcing a patina onto copper, right? And the end result is it kind of looks like it's been salvaged from a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. Now, I do it to knife scales. I will show you my Benchmade bug out that I shipwrecked, and then I'll show you guys how to do it with a pair of blank scales in the next video. Very easy to do. The supplies that you'll need to shipwreck with are very, very, very affordable, and you can find them really at any Walmart, supermarket, wherever. The scales themselves, depending on what knife you have, could be a bit pricey, but you can shipwreck anything that's copper. You can do that to it. So I'll show you guys how to prepare the bare copper for the shipwrecking, how I shipwreck. It looks awesome when it's done. It's really, really, really cool, and I think it's something you guys will be interested in. So stick around for that. That will be the next video that comes out after this one. So as always, guys, I really, really do appreciate you watching. It was a million videos that you could have clicked on, but you clicked on this one, and it does mean a lot to me. So thank you very much. We'll see you later.